Welcome back. Wes Jones is back with us from Home Helper Consultants. Welcome back, Wes. How are you?
Ben, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. It feels just like yesterday that I was here.
It seems like yesterday. Time goes so fast.
That's right.
Thinking about people trying to, these headlines obviously come to a pretty big, I would imagine put a pretty big push in your business, maybe generate some phone calls.
Yeah, it certainly does. And, you were talking about the stock market being up at, 13,000, just in your monologue. But, I was on King 5 earlier this morning, and, they were talking about some of the Case-Shiller reports and how, although stocks are up, real estate is actually down nationwide, down to levels that we saw back in 2002.
And that's before the boom. That's before the big peak started.
That is definitely before the big peak started.
So, you guys work, you're the number one producing short sale team in the nation with Keller Williams. Mm-hmm. You guys do a lot of short sales. And, what's kind of happening out there right now in your industry?
Short sale industry or just real estate in general? I guess right now it kind of feels like short sales is the industry, and it is such a big portion of it. I'll tell you, one of the things that we are seeing is we're seeing a lot of good buyer activity out there, and I'm seeing some multiple offer situations, and I haven't seen those over the last couple of years, and that's been really good to see. And I'm seeing the good properties are going fast. And what I mean by the good properties is it's going to be the property that is priced right and also presents the best. If it's anything less, if it's overpriced, if it does not present well, it's going to sit.
Now, there's a blog that actually you and I had discussed a little bit earlier about this little uptick, though. This is like having the flu and feeling so miserable for 3 days. And that first day after you're done with the flu, you just feel amazing. It's a little bit what this is, right? Oh, there's a few good properties. There's a little bit of an uptick here and there, but this isn't recovery.
Well, no, you bring up a good point, and I sent you that blog for a reason, because I tend to believe a lot of what they say on nwrealestateblog.com. I really like that author, and I think he's got some good things to say. And yeah, it is. It's a lot like having the flu, and you feel so bad, and then you're feeling bad. It's 2007, 2008, 2009. You're just puking your guts out, and it feels so bad. And you get around to 2010 and 2011. We're hit 2011. We start to see some activity again.
You're hungry. The chicken soup is helping,
and you're not feeling as bad as you were the first 3 days, and you feel just a little bit better, and all of a sudden you say, hey, I'm feeling great, even though you're still feeling bad, because there's been a little bit of health recovery,
a little bit of optimism.
The optimism.
You kept some food down in the analogy here, but that's kind of what's happening.
And that's what it feels like for me in the housing market. That's what it feels like. It feels like we're about 3/4 of the way through the flu. And that's where we're at today. We're seeing some signs of life, but it doesn't necessarily mean recovery. Multiple offers on good properties doesn't necessarily mean recovery. When we get to recovery, we're going to see more job creation. We're going to see more consumer spending. We'll see more consumer confidence, and we'll see less restrictive lending. We see bits and pieces of those, but I'm not seeing that overall. We're not there just yet.
Well, good news. Consumer confidence was up, so maybe that's the start to something.
Yeah, well, it's certainly good to see, and we do see some buyer confidence. I also think it's a lot of pent-up demand, too. Haven't been a ton of sales over the last 2 years. And I think there's just a lot of people that are seeing prices low enough to say, hey, 2002 pricing's pretty good. Hey, I can go call Ben Brashen and I can get 4.25% on an interest rate. Couple that with the low, prices, that can be real attractive for them.
I appreciate the plug on my own show, Wes.
Absolutely. I got your back.
Wes, you talk about 2002 prices, and this is like a 33% depreciation. Talk a little bit last time this happened and what happened back then.
Well, it's funny. The last time that nationwide we saw, upwards of 30 to 35% depreciation was in the 30s, and that was the Great Depression. And I'm not saying we're going through a Great Depression, but you can look at the historical numbers and you can really learn something. So from back then, when you go from the height prior to the Great Depression all the way down to the bottom, and then to come back again to the top where, pre-depression housing prices was, it took 19 years to get there. So I'm not saying that we've got 19 years to go, but if you put that in perspective, I mean, what are we looking at? 2026?
Yeah. 2000, history does repeat itself at some levels.
History does repeat itself, and I don't think that we're going to see that again, but I think it's something that we can definitely learn from. And, although it is great, it's great to feel good 4 days, into the flu and you feel better again. And it's great to see some of those, sales and those multiple offers come in. We still got a ways to go, and we have some things to, we got some things to work through.
So looking forward, on the short sale side, this is kind of a big year. I mean, certainly 2026 is a long way out. People who have plans maybe can plan for that time out in the future. But right now, there is some interesting information just from the IRS with the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act.
Yeah, it's something that is, big for us, and it's really something I'm surprised that the media is not picking up on at all. And it's the Mortgage Debt Relief Act, and it is set to expire at the end of this year. So it's set to expire at the end of 2012. And essentially what the Mortgage Debt Relief Act allows you to do is, I guess I'll rewind a little bit, is that, a lot of people don't know that anytime that debt is canceled, that becomes taxable. And that could be debt in the form of credit card debt. That could be a car loan. That could be, mortgage debt forgiveness in the form of a short sale or the form of a foreclosure. So anytime debt is canceled, you can expect a 1099 on that and treat that as income. What the Mortgage Debt Relief Act of 2007 allows you to do is essentially allows an owner-occupied home you do not have to pay taxes on that forgiven debt. You are relieved of that debt.
And so, and this is an IRS gig. I mean, this is not. I mean,
That's right.
I mean, right? You may. There's different ways of thinking about it, but you don't just get maybe the debt forgiven. This is a tax. From a tax perspective.
It is coming whether you like it or not. It is coming whether we do a great job or not. No matter who you're working with as far as your short sale negotiator, it's coming. It comes from the IRS. It does not come from your bank. There is very little stopping it. And if you don't get one, it doesn't mean that you don't owe that tax, that you can't be taxed on that debt.
Does that have to come? Do you know? Does that have to come within the calendar year, or is it something that can kind of come whenever?
We've been told that some people have never received their 1099s, but it doesn't mean they're not liable, for that. But, circling back, the Mortgage Debt Relief Act on your owner-occupied home, it does forgive that debt, up to $1 million for a single person and up to $2 million as a married couple if you're filing jointly.
So, Wes, we got about a minute before we have to go to break. Again, we're here with Wes Jones of Home Helper Consultants. When people continue to see house prices down, right? Again, numbers come out, they're worse. What does that do to the psyche, do you think, of the clients that you're working with? I mean, at some point in time, if you've decided to short sell and house prices keep going down, you kind of do a little yay, rah-rah thing for yourself for trying to make a good decision.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think some people are looking at it as a badge of honor. I think there's other people where the decision is made for them. Hey, they're upside down. They can no longer afford their mortgage. But no matter what, they lost their job. They have a true financial hardship. Whatever the scenario is, you think people just need to be aware that if they're owner-occupied right now, tax laws are changing. And we don't know if the Mortgage Debt Relief Act is going to be extended or not. It'll probably have a lot to do with who's in office, but I'm not banking on it being extended.
Well, Wes, thanks so much for joining us again. Wes Jones with Home Helper Consultants. When we come back, certainly getting out of debt is something a lot of people are trying to do. Michael Feinberg is going to join us, and we're going to talk a little bit more about real estate debt and even bankruptcy. My name is Ben Brashen. That was Wes Jones. You're listening to Brashenomics.